Representative John Lewis has arrived at the U.S. Capitol. He will now be taken up the east front stairs of the Capitol into the east front foyer. The casket of the representative will then be escorted by the Senate Majority Leader and by congressional leadership into the Capitol Rotunda. Again, the late congressman has been honored with a motorcade throughout Washington, D.C. today. His body is now arriving at the Capitol building and being carried up the stairs into that building for the first time. There will be an arrival ceremony after this all takes place. His casket will actually then be moved out for public viewing in the evening. So people who want to stop by and pay respects to Congressman Lewis will be able to do so in a way that's safe during coronavirus, because he will be lying outside in the fresh air 6 to 10 p.m. The casket will be moved out of the rotunda for public viewing, and also all day tomorrow. The Vice President, Mike Pence, and his second lady, Karen, the Vice President Biden and his wife are all expected to visit the casket tonight. So we will be hearing from many of our elected officials and others who want to pay tribute to the life of Congressman John Lewis, who, again, just died at the age of 80 after a 6-month battle with cancer. That was in July. He was a congressman for Georgia's 5th Congressional District for more than 3 decades, seen as the moral conscience of Congress for his commitment to that nonviolent fight for civil rights. And that will be a big part of his legacy, remembered throughout the ceremonies today and over the next day or so. Kayla Tausche is in Washington as well with more information, Kayla, on this procession and the way his life is being honored and remembered.
Well, Kelly, Congressman Lewis was often called the conscience of Congress, this moral authority that he had acquired over many decades of serving in those nonviolent protests and agitating for change that he liked to call good trouble, necessary trouble, that sometimes made people uncomfortable but got results. Congressman Lewis will be just the second black lawmaker to lie in state in the Capitol. He will be in the rotunda for just a few hours today. It's one of the many traditions upended by the pandemic. Later, he will be moved to the plaza outside the Capitol, where people can come and pay their respects in a socially distanced way outside from 6 to 10 p.m. this evening, and then again throughout the day tomorrow. So certainly a different type of reception for a civil rights hero, a longtime congressman who had more than 8,000 pieces of legislation that he sponsored or co-sponsored that resulted in roughly 500 laws of very many different topics, not just on civil rights. The most recent piece of legislation that he sponsored was for taxpayers to bring more transparency to the IRS and to change some of the IRS's practices of the way that it operates. So certainly a wide-ranging legacy, and a congressman from Georgia who served 17 terms will surely be remembered here in Washington and in the state as well.
And Bill Griffith,
across the country, Kelly.
Kayla, thank you. Bill Griffith is here for Power Lunch. And Bill, I know that you watched his career firsthand.
You know, I think, I don't know if you saw the memorial service over the weekend, his brother and his sister both spoke so eloquently about their brother. And his sister especially said that John was always telling her, if you see something wrong that's wrong, do something. And that was the mantra that he lived his whole life, going back to, of course, those heady days of the early days of the civil rights era in the 1960s, when he was beaten up crossing that famous bridge that he made the crossing of yesterday. He was truly a doer. And for him to pass away just as we're experiencing yet another major time of civil rights and racial equality movement in this country, I think it highlights for us the impact that he had in our country. But he would say it. He'd be the first one to say there was so much more to do.
Yeah, celebration of his life is going to take place over the course of 6 days. As Bill said, it kicked off Saturday with events in Alabama, Georgia, and now Washington, D.C. After these events, he'll lie in state at the Georgia State Capitol on Wednesday. And then Thursday, he has a celebration of life at Ebenezer Baptist Church, Horizon Sanctuary in Atlanta. So there's several more days, Kayla, still where he will be remembered. And it does feel as though people are coming together at this time in particular to kind of highlight the brave choices that he made with his career and the impact that had on civil rights legislation, among many other areas.
That's right, Kelly. And I was just looking at this shot of Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell and House Speaker Nancy Pelosi both standing by in a socially distanced setup, the aerial shot of which was really quite stunning and will certainly be an image that stays with us as a marker of this time. But with bipartisanship in such short supply in Washington, the memory of John Lewis is something that has brought lawmakers, policymakers from both sides of the aisle together. Both McConnell and Pelosi are scheduled to give remarks momentarily after the casket arrives in the Rotunda.
Kayla, I was just thinking, as I look at the same shot that we're all looking at there in the famed Hall of Statues, you wonder how long before there will be a statue of John Lewis in that room as well.